Let's get to our top story, and that's Russian Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov that landed in the national capital on Tuesday night to attend a two-day meeting of the G20 foreign ministers. The meeting that's taking place over today and tomorrow amid Russia's escalating confrontation with the Western powers over the Ukraine conflict. Lavrov is expected to hold a bilateral meeting with External Affairs Minister Jaishankar, during which both sides are expected to carry out a comprehensive review of bilateral ties. So the G20 meeting that's starting today in the national capital, and India denies any issue over joint communique. Maha Siddiqui reports.
Will India be able to break the logjam between the West and Russia at the G20 foreign ministers meeting to be held in Delhi later this week? Days after a joint communique could not be adopted at the finance ministers' meeting in Bengaluru, the Ukraine issue is now back at centre stage and the focus squarely on India. Though government sources have dismissed the commentary regarding the chair's summary as politically biased and motivated and said it reflected the Bali consensus, however, as G20 president, will India be able to bring consensus between the West and Russia, which is now supported by China? Western nations including the US, Germany, Canada, France, Japan, Italy and the EU refer to the war in Ukraine as Russian aggression and condemn the move. Russia says this is not a war per se, but a special operation triggered in part by Western moves against its territorial integrity.
There are countries around the world, notably Russia, that are challenging the rules-based order, the principles of the UN Charter, the principles of international law, the principles of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. We'll continue to discuss these issues with our Indian partners. I have no doubt that they'll be on the agenda for and around the G20.
NDTV has now learnt about the sharp differences which emerged at the finance ministers' meeting last week from this first-hand account.
There are 2 paragraphs on which there was no agreement, and there are 17 or 18 paragraphs on which agreement was reached in principle. So at this stage of the G20 presidency that India has assumed, I would say it is not ideal to not have a communique, but I think we can also see where the disagreements were and where agreements have emerged.
In the run-up to the September G20 summit of the world leaders, India would be pushing for a declaration, but knows that can happen only if there is consensus. So far, there are no signs of that emerging. The already existing differences over the Ukraine war are becoming even more pronounced when it comes to the language or the text with reference to the war in the joint communique of the G20 leaders in the various meetings. After the Bengaluru incident, now a similar situation threatens the foreign ministers' meeting of the G20 leaders in New Delhi. Will India be able to drive a consensus through, or will a joint communique in New Delhi also be difficult? In New Delhi, this is Maha Siddiqui for NDTV.
We have Maha joining us on the phone line to get more details. Maha, US, China and Russian foreign ministers all here at the national capital. The stage is set for confrontation at the G20 meet with the Russian foreign minister calling the West instigators.
Yes, this is what Russia, the foreign ministry of Russia has said in its statement as Sergey Lavrov landed in India last night, to attend the G20 foreign ministers meeting. They said that they are going to raise the issue of the current global crisis, which is emanating because of instigators is the word they use for the West. They're also saying that there is violent interference in sovereign countries by the West. So clearly, Russia has put its statement out saying that they are going to raise this issue also of unequal trade is what they say, because remember, there are sanctions right now by the West against Russia. On the other hand, if you see the statements that have come in from the EU, which is part of the G20, as well as from the UK, again, they talk about the Russian aggression against Ukraine. EU says that they will continue to raise this matter. The UK is using stronger language, saying that they will call out Russia on this platform, as they have already been doing. So clearly what appears at the moment, Divya, is that India's task as the president of G20 is cut out. They need to ensure that the platform is used for the betterment of the world, that the economic problems, especially of the vulnerable economies at the moment, that UN has identified 54 debt-ridden economies that need immediate bailing out, that India needs to keep the focus firmly on those issues. Apart from that, climate change, climate finance, all those aspects are very important for G20 to discuss. And India has set out that goal. Now the task is up to India to be able to get a consensus going, at least 4 more months that India has before the summit in September, wherein the leaders' declaration needs to be adopted. And in the run-up, these meetings are very important because they will give us a sense as to whether the G20 ultimately in September will come to any consensus or not on very critical issues.
Right. Maha, take us through the agenda of the day between today and tomorrow.
All right. So today, Divya, all the foreign ministers have started arriving from last night. Most of them are set to arrive by this evening. And this evening at 7 p.m., there will be a pre-meeting dinner. This dinner will see all the foreign ministers participate. This provides some sort of an informal platform where leaders can communicate with each other. And sometimes this sort of a setup also acts as an icebreaker. It is a good opportunity to be able to sense what is coming at the main meeting and be able to create an atmosphere of bonhomie, because that is certainly very important, especially at this critical juncture. But the main events are going to be held tomorrow. That will be broken down into 2 chunks of sessions. The morning session will start at 9 a.m. tomorrow, wherein we'll see a discussion on reforms on multilateralism. The food and energy crisis, they will be separately discussed by the G20 leaders. After that, post-lunch again, there will be sessions. These sessions will pertain to terrorism and other threats. Meanwhile, there will be time in between for bilateral meetings. These are specifically the bilateral meetings that Indian External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar will hold. We already know that he will hold a bilateral meeting with Sergey Lavrov. That's part of the Russian ministry statement, foreign ministry statement. He'll hold a bilateral meeting with the EU High Representative also. All eyes are keenly trained on whether there is going to be any separate bilateral meeting with his Chinese counterpart. Qin Gang is the new Chinese foreign minister, and considering that there is ongoing friction between the two sides in eastern Ladakh, all eyes are keenly trained on whether that bilateral meeting happens or not. Apart from that, other countries will also have their own bilateral meetings with different countries, considering that there will be a plethora of foreign ministers who will be present in Delhi for the G20 foreign ministers meeting.
Right. Other countries, including the United Kingdom. Maha, this also marks the opening of the Young Professionals Scheme between India and the UK.
Yes, James Cleverly is here in India. He'll be in IIT Delhi, and that will mark this Young Professionals initiative that has been taken by the UK and India. This will allow for the movement of about 3,000 professionals on either side. UK is giving a sense that once it has moved out of the EU, it is opening up further for professionals from countries like India. There is no rule now, or there is no pressure on them now to first prioritize EU citizens, and therefore they are opening up to other countries as well. India, they believe, is going to be one of the beneficiaries of the professionals moving to the UK for work. However, there have been some niggling factors here, Divya, which pertain to visas. They are saying they are easing those out as well for the smooth movement of professionals.
Right. Thank you so much, Maha. We will keep coming back to you for more on that. Moving on, gold rings to newborn. This is also saplings to farmers, blood donation camps, hosting community baby shower events, assistance including providing notebooks to students, community lunch, eye care service by holding eye camps are among many dozens of statewide events that are being organized on the occasion of the 70th birthday of the party president of the DMK and the Chief Minister M.K. Stalin. A meeting in which senior political leaders are also expected, including Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge, Kharge, as well as Farooq Abdullah, Akhilesh Yadav, as well as Tejasvi Yadav expected there to attend that crucial meeting that's going to be taking place. To get more on this, we have Sam joining us. Sam, on the occasion of the 70th birthday of Stalin, we're seeing the DMK's push for opposition unity ahead of the 2024 Lok Sabha polls.
That's right, Divya. We come to you from the DMK headquarters, the Anna Arivalayam in Chennai, where any moment now the birthday boy, 70-year-old Chief Minister M.K. Stalin would arrive. He would spend a couple of hours here meeting all the DMK cadre who have gathered here in large numbers coming from all across Tamil Nadu. And the big show of strength, in that sense, what the DMK calls as its first push towards the opposition unity before the 2024 Lok Sabha elections would happen at the YMCA grounds at Nandanam around 5 this evening, for which leaders like Farooq Abdullah, Congress President Kharge, Akhilesh Yadav, Tejasvi Yadav are expected to participate, besides regional leaders from across Tamil Nadu. And joining us now, Salma, a well-known poet and a DMK member. Thank you very much for your time. How important is this meeting for DMK cadre?
This is the very wonderful birthday celebrations is going on. He is proving himself. He is a great leader of this Tamil Nadu and #1 Chief Minister of in India. Everybody is telling him he is belonging the Karnataka's son only, but he is proving himself. He is such a great Chief Minister of this country.
Evening program, ma'am, where national leaders like Kharge, Tejasvi Yadav and a few others are joining. Is it significant politically for the DMK in terms of bringing the opposition together?
Yes, every elections, last election, parliament elections, he is only doing such a great alliance with all other opposite party. We won 39 seats in Tamil Nadu. This time also he is forming very good alliance. He wanted to save this country from the BJP. He is going to form very good alliance with all the opposition parties in India. Today is very important. Things is going to happen. We are expecting bright future to in India.
Very much, ma'am. And still there are challenges, Divya. Leaders like Mamata Banerjee, KCR, Jagan Mohan Reddy, they are not coming. There's no word yet whether they were invited or only those who could attend this event have been called. But the DMK calls this as the first or a beginning of a larger coming together of the opposition. They say they have issues with leaders like Mamata Banerjee, Kejriwal, KCR and Jagan Mohan Reddy. And once this takes shape, they say in the months to come, they'll be able to see some kind of a progress in terms of cobbling together a larger opposition unity. In fact, this assumes significance after the arrest of Aam Aadmi leader and Deputy Chief Minister of Delhi, Manish Sisodia. Although the Congress seeks action, even demands arrest of Kejriwal, the DMK in fact has slammed the arrest of Manish Sisodia, calling it as against democracy, illegal, and has even slammed the BJP, saying that in 2024 elections, the people would return it back with interest. What a statement from DMK MP T.R. Balu has said. And what you see now, Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin cutting a cake as part of his 70th birthday. The ruling DMK has arranged for a series of programs, including eye donation, blood donation, community lunches, and the government, the state government, has also launched a special nutrition program for infants and children up to 6 years of age, marking this what they call as a milestone birthday. Some are also critical, saying that the DMK has always been critical of the way the AIADMK had its sycophancy culture when Ms. Jayalalitha was the chief minister. And what you see at the DMK headquarters is a similar gathering, what many call as the DMK nurturing that kind of sycophancy among its cadre. But the DMK cadre say, well, it's our leader's milestone birthday and nothing wrong for us to gather in large numbers and celebrate. In fact, M.K. Stalin, in a statement a few days ago, had appealed to his cadre not to erect cutouts or put up banners or indulge in any kind of extravaganza, saying that there should not be any room for the opposition to criticize the government or the party cadre on this score. And all eyes would be on the big show of strength at around 5 in the evening at the YMCA ground.
Right, Sam, we will keep coming back to you for more on that as celebrations planned across, celebrating the birthday of Stalin. Moving on, petroleum and oil marketing companies raised the price of commercial liquid petroleum gas cylinders by 350 rupees and 50 paise per unit and domestic LPG cylinders by 50 rupees per unit with effect from today. According to the revised rates, now commercial LPG cylinders will cost 2,119 rupees and 50 paise per unit in Delhi, and the price of domestic LPG cylinders will cost 1,103 rupees per unit in the national capital. We have Himanshu joining us to get us more on this. Himanshu, this is the fifth increase that we're seeing since March of 2022.
That's right. And if you look at in terms of prices, this is a 204 rupees increase in last 1 year alone. That essentially means that on 1st March 2022, if you compare the price of a 14.2 kg domestic LPG cylinder, it has gone up by 204 rupees per cylinder. Remember, this is also the time when the inflation again is going up. In January, the official data that was released clearly showed that the CPI inflation rate had gone up to 6.52%. And this is clearly a time again of high inflation. And so if the domestic LPG prices are again increased, this of course hurts the common man, especially those underprivileged and poor households who are dependent on this domestic LPG cylinder. And their kitchen budget, of course, goes up. The second aspect, of course, is the increase in the commercial LPG prices. The 19 kg commercial LPG cylinder has also gone up. And I was looking at the data. If you look at the last 1 year data, the price increase is around 107 rupees 50 paisa. But in one stroke, more than is around 350 rupees per cylinder increase. Of course, is going to increase the input cost of restaurants and hotels. And of course, if they decide to pass on this increase or to the customers, of course, the pressure during the time of high inflation on common people, of course, goes up. What is, of course, worrying is that this increase comes at a time when inflation is high and government was fighting very hard actually to contain inflation. But this, of course, is an inflation. This will have an inflationary impact in the sense that people will be very badly affected. And this is a time, very challenging time actually for underprivileged and poor households. Divya.
Right, Himanshu, the fifth increase, like you mentioned, in a matter of less than a year. Let's also now slip into a very short break. On the other side, we'll get you Delhi's cabinet reshuffle with the two jailed ministers, Manish Sisodia and Satinder Jain, quitting. We'll get you what we can expect from the Aam Aadmi Party. Welcome back. Now, 2 days after his arrest on Sunday in an alleged excise policy scam, the Delhi Chief Minister on Tuesday resigned from the Council of Ministers. The former Health Minister Satinder Jain, who was arrested in May last year, 8 months ago, in an alleged money laundering case, also submitted his resignation to the Chief Minister of Delhi, Arvind Kejriwal, bringing the strength of the Delhi cabinet to 5. The Delhi government officials have said that Kejriwal accepted the resignation and sent them to the LG to be forwarded to the president. The Aam Aadmi Party said 2 new faces would soon be inducted into the cabinet, but didn't give any time frame for the interim. Their portfolios have been distributed between Kailash Gehlot and Rajkumar Anand. Kailash Gehlot will be getting a finance, planning as well as public works department, while Rajkumar Anand will be getting education. Moving on to more news, that's coming in. The Kejriwal's big political challenge as far as the jail 2 ministers are concerned, as they have resigned as of yesterday. Moving on, with less than 2 months for Karnataka to go to polls, the BJP is all set to launch its ambitious election campaign starting today. The BJP is making inroads into the old Mysuru region, harbouring hopes of victory in the upcoming assembly elections. Looking forward to create a base in the old Mysuru region, the stronghold of the JDS and the Congress. The BJP will launch what's called the Vijay Sankalp Yatra from 4 different directions across the state in ruts or chariots. With the party's central leaders set to give it a head start, BJP National President JP Nadda will kickstart the yatra today, and that is expected from one of the assembly segments of the old Mysuru region. Shrija gets us the details.
Well, the BJP have chosen especially to begin their election campaign that is starting today from Chamarajanagar Assembly constituency. Now, it is one among the 9 districts of the old Mysuru region. Now, why exactly did the BJP choose that? That is something which, as far as the BJP is concerned, has been a weak spot in the old Mysuru region. More importantly, here we see that the BJP for the first time, we have also seen just in December where Amit Shah, when he had arrived in the Mandya region, he went on to talk about how BJP is trying to push for votes in the name of Modi, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and also in the name of the party as well. And only because it's being a very weak spot as far as the BJP is concerned, the party has chosen the old Mysuru region. It's been a stronghold of the JDS and the Congress, and also very recently we did see, especially in Ballari as well, though there is a strong anti-incumbency wave now, which is fueled because of the raft of corruption allegations against the Bommai government. Very recently we went on to see how Amit Shah in Ballari as well, and including Prime Minister Narendra Modi during their speeches, they in fact very intentionally dropped the name of Basuraj Bommai. In fact, even though we are talking about the double-engine government, the other engine which is being run by the BJP right here in the state of Karnataka is governed by Mr. Bommai himself. So there is a strong anti-incumbency wave. So overriding that, we're looking at how central leaders are making that back-to-back visits, especially to the state of Karnataka. So to speak about especially the southern region, their push that they're looking at, they're trying to they're harboring hopes, especially if they can, try and win those Vokkaliga votes. Now, what we understand from certain poll strategists and also party leaders, contrary to the common perception which is on ground, right now BJP is slowly but of course steadily trying to gauge the pulse of the people, especially of the younger population. Some of the poll strategists also go on to tell NDTV that right now that they are targeting, of course, is shift that votes of the GDS to the BJP, which is the Vokkaliga votes, the traditional stronghold of the JDS. Run by the JDS Supremo, HD Deve Gowda. And also more importantly, how they try to talk about and project this is because the younger generation, especially of the Vokkaliga community, are showing a slow right-wing tilt and also nationalist feelings, and keeping in mind, as far as the BJP's big face is concerned, we see that they're trying to push Prime Minister Narendra Modi's face even in the southern region, and where we are looking at some of the central leaders making that request in the name of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, asking people to vote for the BJP. So as far as the the first BJP election campaign is concerned, today it will be flagged off by the BJP National President JP Nadda, starting from Malay Mahadeshwara Hills. This is in Chamarajanagar district of Karnataka.
And the BJP is concerned over reports that their rival and Chief Minister KCR may prefer an early election before the BJP can prepare their ground to fight KCR's Bharat Rashtra Samiti or the BRS. The BJP's top leaders will hold high-intensity rallies for the next 1 month in all the 119 assembly constituencies in Telangana, where elections are due later this year. Apart from the rallies at the 119 assembly seats, the BJP's senior central leaders, including Union Ministers Amit Shah, Rajnath Singh and Smriti Irani, will hold at least 10 big rallies across Telangana. During the campaign, the BJP will highlight alleged link in the Delhi liquor policy scam with people connected to KCR's daughter K. Kavita, who's also a BRS leader. Recently, the CBI arrested Buchi Babu, a former chartered accountant of Ms. Kavita, for alleged corruption in framing the now scrapped Delhi liquor policy scam, with Aam Aadmi Party's Manish Sisodia, who was arrested by the CBI on Sunday. And with that, we're slipping into a very short break. On the other side, we'll get you a snowstorm that's turned California into winter wonderland. Welcome back. In a horrific case in Rajasthan that sent shockwaves, a 1-month-old infant was carried away from inside a hospital ward where the father was admitted and killed by stray dogs. My colleague Harsha Kumari gets us this report.
The district hospital in Rajasthan, Sirohi, where a 1-month-old infant, a baby boy, who was sleeping beside his mother in the TB ward was carried away by stray dogs and killed. The family had come to the hospital on Sunday for treatment. The baby's father, Mahendra Meena, is suffering from silicosis, a lung disease that affects people who work in mines and stone crushers in the area. The mother was sleeping on the floor beside her husband with 2 children, aged 6 and 7 years old, and the 1-month-old baby boy.
मेरे बच्चों को सुलाया और मैं घरवाले और रात को 12 बजे तक ये जगती रही. उसके बाद में इसको कमर हमारा दर्द हो रही थी क्योंकि महीना भर भी नहीं हुआ है डिलीवरी में. तो इसको दर्द होने लगा तो इसने थोड़ी बहुत आंख बंद कर ली. 1 बजे 1 के 2 के आसपास कुत्ते अंदर आए और उसको उठा के लेके चले गए मेरे बच्चे को यहाँ से.
The police have registered a case. What's shocking is that not a single hospital staff was present inside the ward when this horrific incident took place.
बच्चे की मां कह रही थी उससे कोरे कागज पर साइन करवा.
मेरे को जानकारी नहीं है.
और बच्चे का पोस्टमार्टम करवा दिया गया उनकी माँ बाप की इजाजत के बिना.
नहीं, वो जो पोस्टमार्टम हुआ होगा उससे पहले उनसे परमिशन ली होगी, लेकिन मेरी जानकारी में ऐसा नहीं है. पीएमओ साहब आएंगे और वो जांच भी आ जाएगी. जो भी कार्रवाई होगी दोषियों के खिलाफ, अगर कोई दोष पाया जाता है तो कार्रवाई करने के लिए बुलाएंगे पीएमओ साहब.
Local people and the opposition BJP have started a sit-in outside the hospital in protest against the incident and the disgraceful condition of this district hospital. With Komal Yadav in Sirohi, Harsha Kumari Singh, NDTV.
Now, just in the last 1 week, there have been 4 cases in Telangana of apparently healthy men caught on camera suddenly collapsing. This has created huge panic and concern. Doctors point out that only one of them could be saved and there are important lessons to be learnt.
A pre-marriage haldi event at a home in Hyderabad's Kalapathar. There's merrymaking and laughter. The groom's brother-in-law, Mohammad Rabbani, reaches out to apply turmeric and suddenly collapses. At a gym in Hyderabad's Boinpalli, 24-year-old constable Vaidi Vishal was working out when he suddenly collapsed and died. Hyderabad Police Commissioner C.V. Anand told NDTV he was a fit and healthy young man with no history of substance abuse. This 19-year-old from Maharashtra had come to Nirmal in Telangana to participate in a marriage celebration. He was dancing and suddenly collapsed.
Sudden collapses are usually because of the arrhythmias, that is a rhythm disturbance. Heart suddenly starts beating at a very irregular, fast rate, and that arrhythmia is most of the time is responsible for a sudden collapse and where the heart stops. So out of hospital cardiac arrest can be saved by giving a shock which we call as a defibrillation.
At Hyderabad's Aramghar junction, 42-year-old Balu had just got off a bus and collapsed. Luckily for him, Constable Rajshekhar persistently performed cardiopulmonary resuscitation or CPR, a life-saving procedure, and saved his life.
CPR is a procedure and it's a skill which we believe at this time every citizen globally should learn this. This is not something which is region or in India or anything. Cardiopulmonary resuscitation at this time needs to be taught to everybody.
I recommend that every school, every college, every software engineer, software guys, they should learn all this because help doesn't come in just a second. So we need to do that and we can save many patients.
आपके ये हथेली उसके छाती के लोअर बोन पे रहना चाहिए. ये बोन, बीच का बोन, स्टर्नम बोन बोलते हैं. इधर हाथ रखना चाहिए और दूसरा हाथ उसके हाथ के ऊपर और स्टार्ट कंप्रेशन और कंप्रेशन करना शुरू करना है.
Life-saving procedure, something which looks fairly simple but something for which you must Get yourself trained so you are equipped with both the confidence and the ability to be able to perform and save a life. In Hyderabad, with camera person Nagaraju, Uma Sudeep, NDTV.
Now, 24 hours after farmers at India's biggest onion mandi in Maharashtra's Lasalgaon stopped auctions because of continuously falling prices, NCP MLAs protested against the state government by wearing garlands made out of onions outside the Maharashtra Assembly. What's worrying is a sharp crash in onion prices, something that could affect the income of farmers and their livelihoods.
Two protests over onion prices in 24 hours in Maharashtra. The first by farmers at India's biggest onion mandi in Lasalgaon, and the second one by NCP MLAs in Mumbai wearing onion garlands. After a nearly 50% reduction in wholesale prices of onion in Lasalgaon in just the last fortnight. This is a big worry for someone like Mohan Jadhav, a marginal farmer in Nashik.
आज 1 एकड़ को 80 से 90 हजार तक खर्चा हो रहा है, तो ये इतना खर्चा करके हम क्या करेंगे? कल किसान अभी आत्महत्या ही कर सकता है, उसने हमको 500 या 700 रुपए तक क्विंटल को अनुदान देना चाहिए.
After an uproar by the opposition, the government has promised relief.
निर्यातीवर बंदी नाही, नापेडची खरेदी सुरू झालेली आहे. 2.38 लाख टन मेट्रिक टन खरेदी झाली आहे आणि त्याच बरोबर या ठिकाणी कांदा उत्पादक शेतकऱ्याच्या पाठीशी सरकार उभं राहील.
With Sohit Mishra in Mumbai, Saurabh Gupta, NDTV.
Breaking news coming in at the moment from the Aam Aadmi Party. 2 new ministers will be inducted in the Kejriwal's government of Delhi. The names of the 2 ministers to be announced soon. The appointment could take some time. To get more information on this, we have my colleague Priyanshi joining us to get us more on this 2 new ministers to be inducted in the Aam Aadmi Party. Do remember there were 7 ministers in all. 2 resigned as of yesterday. 2 jail ministers, that's Satinder Jain as well as Manish Sisodia. Those 2 ministers that resigned yesterday, that letter has been sent to the LG, who in turn is sending it to the president. And once that is approved is when the 2 new ministers are to be inducted. Those names will be announced. The resignation of Manish Sisodia and Satinder Jain will be approved by the president. It's only after that that the new ministers will be appointed. Let's go across to Priyanshi. Priyanshi, firstly, we are now being told, a situation where 2 ministers resigned as of yesterday and the Aam Aadmi Party was down to 5 out of 7. And the onus and the focus being on Arvind Kejriwal, perhaps then taking on some of the portfolios, and that was there were speculations regarding that. But now all speculations being put to rest that 2 new ministers will be added to the cabinet.
That's right, Divya. That was a major question, whether there are going to be new ministers in the Arvind Kejriwal cabinet or whether the responsibilities of Mr. Manish Sisodia, the Delhi Deputy Chief Minister, whether those portfolios are going to be redistributed among existing ministers. But we are now being told by sources, sources have told my colleague Sharad Sharma that there might be 2 new ministers in the Delhi cabinet, and that remains to be seen which of whether some of the MLAs will be escalated to the positions of ministers. So as you must remember that there are MLAs such as Saurabh Bharadwaj, who is also the chief spokesperson of the Aam Aadmi Party. There's also Atishi. These are the MLAs that we often see in the Aam Aadmi Party being active in the political sphere and in the protests also that we saw in the last few days. So we'll have to see whether it will be them or any other MLAs who might be elevated to the position of ministers. Now, what are the portfolios that we're talking about that are to be distributed among these likely 2 ministers in the Delhi cabinet? As we've talked about that Delhi government cabinet had 6 ministers, and after Satinder Jain and Manish Sisodia have resigned, now the cabinet is left with 4 ministers. So when 2 new ministers will be inducted, which is likely as per sources, then that would take the strength back to 6 ministers, because of course 2 ministers have resigned, so that they are likely to be replaced by 2 new ministers. So the strength of 6 ministers will be retained. That's what we are getting the sense for now. Now, if we talk about the portfolios that the new ministers might get, these are the portfolios that the Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia held, because of course Satinder Jain has also resigned, but Satinder Jain didn't have any portfolios. He was a minister without any portfolio after he was jailed last year in the month of July. So he's been in jail for 8 months now, and he didn't have any portfolio, but he was still a minister. But Manish Sisodia was the second most minister in the Delhi government after Arvind Kejriwal, the chief minister. And after he has resigned, there are 18 portfolios that are now vacant because he held 18 out of the 33 portfolios in the Delhi cabinet. So that is why the Aam Aadmi Party government, as they've said, that they have gone ahead with this move for the two ministers to resign so that these crucial 18 portfolios can be redistributed so that the work in these portfolios can continue and it doesn't get stopped as Mr. Manish Sisodia has been arrested and he's in jail. Now, if we talk about the portfolios that Manish Sisodia held, out of the 18, it included crucial portfolios such as education, finance, planning, land and building, vigilance, services, tourism, art, culture and language, labor, employment, public works department, health, industries, power, home, urban development, irrigation and food control, irrigation and flood control as well as the water department. These are the departments that were under Manish Sisodia, and also any other departments that were not specifically allotted to any minister. Those also came under the Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia. So these are the departments. Divya, as you must remember that the Delhi government's budget is also going to come up in the month of March, and we've seen that for the last few years, of course, Manish Sisodia was the finance minister and he's presented that budget. So it was crucial for the Delhi government to come up with an alternative plan because some minister has to present the budget while Manish Sisodia is in jail. So that's why these portfolios will be reallocated now as this arrangement.
Right, Priyanshi, two very key portfolios that were being under Manish Sisodia. First, Satinder Jain was handling health, and then after his arrest, that portfolio also was being handled by Manish Sisodia. But you know, there were two names yesterday that were coming up, Kailash Gehlot and Rajkumar Anand. So, of course, those are existing ministers within the Aam Aadmi Party, and between the two of them, those 18 portfolios were to be divided is what was being, were making rounds yesterday. But now, two new ministers are going to be inducted in the Aam Aadmi Party. We were expecting that to happen perhaps after the budget, but now that could happen even earlier.
That's right, Divya. Yesterday, what the sense that we were getting from Aam Aadmi Party sources, as my colleague Sharad Sharma had reported, that the existing two ministers, Mr. Kailash Gehlot and Mr. Rajkumar Anand, the portfolios of Mr. Manish Sisodia could be distributed among these existing ministers, and there could be no new ministers who could be inducted in the cabinet. But as we've seen, that Satinder Jain has resigned, of course, and he's been in jail for the last 8 months. Now, the Deputy Chief Minister has resigned. So the strength of the cabinet was 6 ministers, and after these 2 resignations, it came down to just 4, while the Delhi cabinet can have a maximum of 7 ministers. So it would have been really difficult for the Aam Aadmi Party to redistribute the portfolios among just those 4 ministers. Because remember, there are 18 portfolios under Manish Sisodia, there are 3 under Gopal Rai, there are 4 portfolios under Rajkumar Anand, there are 6 portfolios under Kailash Gehlot, and there's another minister, Imran Hussain, and there are 2 portfolios under him. So it would have been really hard to redistribute these portfolios among existing ministers, because these existing ministers are also holding a string of ministries, and they are responsible for a string of portfolios and departments. So that is why that would have added responsibility to these existing ministers. If we talk about Kailash Gehlot, a name that was being pitched yesterday according to sources, he already holds the Department of Law, Justice and Legislative Affairs. He holds transport, he holds administrative reforms, information technology, revenue, women and child development. So he already holds 6 portfolios, while Rajkumar Anand holds Gurudwara elections, SCNST, social welfare, cooperative. So these ministers already held these portfolios. So what we are understanding now, that it might have been difficult for these ministers who are already holding a string of portfolios to then hold important portfolios such as finance, health, education, which require time and dedication, and of course Manish Sisodia was handling all of these crucial portfolios together. So that's why the Aam Aadmi Party might be going in for 2 more ministers, because the strength would have really come down to 4 ministers. So to retain that strength of 6 ministers in the cabinet, this move might have been taken by the Aam Aadmi Party government.
Right, Priyanshi, thank you so much for getting us those details. Those 18 portfolios held by Manish Sisodia will now be distributed amongst 2 new ministers that will be inducted into the Aam Aadmi Party. But those names will be announced in some time. With that, we follow slipping into a very short break. Lots more coming up on the other side. Welcome back, and now over to Nagaland. What does the youth really want from their candidates? My colleague Vedant finds out the issues that the youth have based their votes on. Listen in.
Welcome to this very special broadcast from the beautiful capital Kohima here in Nagaland. I come to you from the gorgeous secretariat. I'm joined by a young crowd here, all students, youngsters from colleges and schools, and also we are joined by two of the strongest candidates of the capital. We have Mr. Hume from the NDTV BJP alliance and Mr. Mishenlo from the Congress. So today basically our aim is to actually bring to you voices of youngsters from Nagaland, because you know the mainstream media often ignores these very critical voices of in states like Nagaland. Of course, we've been reporting from Tripura and Meghalaya as well, and our aim is for these youngsters to actually raise their questions and ask their candidates here on NDTV. So of course, before going to the candidates who've been speaking a lot in their rallies and press conferences, let me get in a word from these youngsters here. So what's your name?
My name is Sevi.
Your name is?
Sevi.
Sevi. So, as you voted as well, I could see your the mark on your finger. So, as a college student, what is the biggest issue? What's the core issue on which you voted on?
Well, firstly, the main issue, if I were to speak on youths, for youths, it's unemployment.
Right.
Also, there is, if we talk about the government again, there is backdoor appointments, which are indeed becoming a hassle for us as educated people to get employed.
Right.
So that, if I were to highlight one, that would be one of the prominent
issues would be unemployment. That's a very important point you're raising, and let me take this to the candidate from the NDTV BJP alliance. Of course, your alliance is looking quite strong. You've talked about various issues as well, including the Naga political issue, but this college student here, Sivi, she raised a very important point that for them, for the youth, the biggest issue is unemployment and backdoor entries as far as government jobs is concerned. What would you do to tackle that?
Of course, this unemployment is a global phenomenon, and of course recessions are happening all over the world, and especially if you look at Nagaland. Nagaland people are very skillful people, you see. It's not just government employment, and of course our BJP NDTV alliance, we have set records clear. We have set up, instituted the NSSB. So there we are also trying to curb this corruption. So in our best possible way, we are also trying to tackle this issue of backdoor unemployment.
Right.
So I think we have put the proper institutional reforms into place.
Right. So let me take this to Mr. Mishenlo as well. See, the unemployment rate in Nagaland is well above the national average. And here, of course, as she mentioned, unemployment is one of the most frustrating issues for youngsters. Yeah. What would you do that if you voted to do to tackle that if you voted to power?
Yeah, me till today, even if I'm not in power, I've been fighting against this backdoor appointment, and I've always tried my best to throw away this backdoor appointment and let the deserving people get the job through exam. That is what we have been doing.
Right. Okay. So, are you satisfied with that answer?
Yes, sir.
You are? Okay. Hi. What's your name?
Hello, my name is Lancy.
Yeah. Okay. So, what would you like to ask your candidates here? What is the core issue for you as a voter?
For me as a voter, the core issue at present is the lack of institutions,
right?
Particularly medical institutions and engineering institutions.
Right.
We know that the Kohima Medical College is being set up. However, we find that it's still ongoing.
Right.
So and there is no talk about setting up engineering institutes as well.
That's a very significant point. I mean, any of you, I'm sure, do you also have the same question as her? Lack of institutions here in Nagaland. I'm sure a lot of you as well.
Yes, sir.
So you would also like to see maybe medical institutions, engineering institutions being set up here.
Yes, sir. Probably.
Okay, so that's an important point being raised here by these students. Lack of institutions, and of course Nagaland is still without a medical college. So what are you going to do about that? Are you planning to set up world-class institutions here?
We have put up 2 colleges in place, and of course the corpus which we get from the center, that's important to us. So we have the support of the government, and BJP NDTV alliance, I think that will bring more.
So of course the double engine plank is what you're playing here. Yeah. So what do you have to say about that? That Nagaland, I mean, is still without a medical college. I mean, it's quite, it's actually quite shameful.
Of course, very true. In fact, I'm happy that they are raising the issues which I always used to talk about.
Right.
See, this medical college, I think it was sanctioned back in 2004.
Right.
And the government was saying, I hope sir will not mind, because it is NDTV government now, so we are saying that they will start the medical college starting 2023. But for me, I feel it's something impossible. Why? Because infrastructure is not completed. At the same time, without the teachers or without the professors, how will the medical college run?
Right. So the infrastructure that is necessary for a medical college to be set up, that is not in place. That's what they're saying. So let me come to you guys. What would you like to ask your candidate?
Okay, hello, my name is Ning Sanyakire from Science College.
Right.
I wanted to ask, it is very prevalent about the traffic jams in Kohima, and also there's so many parallel parkings and double parkings, and there are people with who buys a lot of cars without having their actual garage.
Right.
So do you plan on making some policies regarding those, like
Right.
building infrastructures where there can be parking spaces so that we can eliminate this traffic jams?
Very interesting. So they're saying, they talk about double parkings. Of course, the larger question I think really is about roads as well, because the approach roads in Nagaland, of course, that has been a major issue as well, and very few political parties actually talk about changing roads, because roads really are the face of a state.
Yeah, when it comes to this traffic jam, because of that, our offices functioning is also delaying. And so many, the business sector is disturbed because of traffic
But
jam.
what would you do about it?
See, what I'm saying is, this KMC has to come out with some strict rules and regulation how to overcome this traffic jam.
Right.
Or I have said this in some of the interviews also. We have this this army camp in the middle of our capital.
Right.
So if that can be shifted to some other place, and if we use it for town expansion, I think the traffics will be smoother than what it is today.
Right. Do you agree with your friend here?
I fully agree. I fully agree. I think militarization of the city, that's also another
Important
huge
issue,
for a hamlet city like Kohima.
Right.
And as far as road transportation, you see, as far as I'm very happy because youngsters today are talking about public utilities.
Right.
You see. So that was not there. The city is not planned. You see.
Right.
So as the city expands, I think it's important that and of course you need to understand how private-public partnership takes place here. So
Very
I think,
important point.
yeah, lots of impediments, but of course we are looking forward to that. Yeah.
Right. Okay, let me go across to some boys also. The girls have been raising very important issues. In fact, what is interesting about Nagaland is that women voters always outnumber men voters. So what would you like to ask your candidate?
Hello everyone, my name is Viputo Yapto from Kohima Science College. The questions that I would like to ask the candidates or whoever the parties who is going to form the government, the next government, is, as a youngster, and I think this is not only important for a youngster, but the whole Naga society as a general is about this Naga issue.
Yeah.
Naga issue is something which when we read about in the articles or the candidates, they always say, or
they will solve it.
Yeah, they say that this is hampering the developments of the state. So I would like to ask the next government, whoever is going to be, which party is going to be, how effectively are they going to facilitate the talk process? Because I feel like that, of course there are many stakeholders into this issue, but the Nagaland legislative assemblies or the politicians who are going to come forward, I feel like, in my opinion, I believe that they are the ones who are really representing the state, because they get elected through the people's consent.
Right. It's a very important issue and very articulately put by this young man here. How are you going to effectively resolve the Naga political issue in just 2 lines?
I'm glad that the young man pointed out that. You see, the political issue is also important, but politicians are no longer young. So I think it's important that that is also set as a priority, but I think it's important that the desires and wishes of the youngsters are also repackaged as part of the priority.
Right. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, for me, this Nagas, I am here as a politician today. This is what I always say, I want to be a leader, not a politician who lies. So clearly, I would like to mention, I don't know, means I will not say something which I don't know. The reason why I'm entering politics is it's all about the things that they have mentioned, this employment things or the lack of facilities that we have in our state.
Right.
So that compelled me to be in the system.
So you are claiming to represent them, but let me go back to the youngsters. So give me one word each and one quality that you would want your candidates to have. One quality, or what would you like to see in your candidates? Very quickly.
I want my candidate to be a listener.
A listener, very good. And what about you?
I want my ruling candidate to be respectful to everyone.
Respectful to everyone, yes. What about you?
Yeah, to be men of their words.
Men of their words. What about you?
I want my candidates to be honest.
Honest. What about you?
More in action than words.
More in action than words. What about you?
For me, I want them to be, equipped with whatever they have said, so that
Right.
it can be
implemented on the ground. What about you? Last word to you.
I want our candidate to be more accountable and more transparent in whatever they do.
Right. So absolutely amazing voices here. All of them youngsters saying that they want their candidates to be more accountable, more transparent, good listeners. So of course, these are the voices that really need to come forward, not the ones we hear, on our television screens with press conferences and rallies. So of course, the 2nd of March, the fate of this state in the far end of India will be decided, and of course it will have a huge impact in the battle of 2024 as well. So of course all eyes now on the 2nd of March. In Kohima with camera person Sanjay Chakravarti, Vedant for NDTV.